before we start, quick show of hand. On the remote side, maybe my colleagues can help me to understand the situation. How many of you work on React? Okay, and how many of you use Next.js as a meta framework? At least in this room, I'm happy with the overall representation. Let me quickly introduce myself. Topic is already here. So before that, bit of a credit. Most of the work is done by me for the slide deck. But yeah, I think there is some part of code, for example, Terraform, which I'm not really used to that much. So I've used AI to help me do that. The credit were due. I wanted to give that. About me, I'm Ashay. I'm here with Thoughtworks for almost 7 years now, leading a team here with consultant. And you can see my email. I have my website, which is hosted on Vercel, by the way. We're going to talk about why not to host on Vercel and what are my credentials, right? Why I'm talking about it. For work, I have self-hosted some of the Next.js applications in the past. So I think, and trust me, bro, I know it. That's what I would say. Cool. Let's start. I think we'll quickly cover the why part, why you want to host it, or why you not want to host it yourself, right? Then how to do it. What is the generic architecture in case you want to self-host it? And in the generic architecture, there's a major important part about dockerizing your application. I think a lot of front-end developers nowadays are aware about it, but still I'll try to give the quick intro of Docker in this session. Then we'll deploy to AWS manually by writing everything in Terraform. I did everything myself. It's already created, by the way. And then we'll talk about something called as AWS Amplify, a new offering, when to use it again, and what are the costing implications of that. Let's start. I think why to host. Okay. Before that, let's talk about why to self-host. But let's talk about Vercel a bit. I think they also have a lot of things to get it, I would say. Next.js is a quite successful open source framework, right? And it is backed by Vercel, right? And it's pretty popular open source model where you kind of make something open source, but then you have some enterprise level features which are available only if you purchase something from the parent company or company who is sponsoring the open source project. Vercel works on the same thought process. So they have Next.js contributed to open source, and they have Vercel where you can deploy it very easily. It looks like magical sometimes. It's so easy, right? You just connect you log into Vercel, tell it your GitHub URL, it deploys it immediately, right? Takes care of creating your Lambda functions, your H functions, and everything. Like you don't have to worry about it. It's like magic actually. So yeah, I think there's a magic, but then there's a cost associated with it, right? Cost and also some limitations. We'll talk about those. But then let's first talk about when not to self-host. If you are having your website, just like I have my Ashay.tech website, don't try to self-host. It's not worth it. Vercel provides the hobby tier, which is able to kind of solve most of your hobby project needs. I don't think you probably ever have to worry about self-hosting. But then most of us, for our work, we do projects for big enterprises, big companies, right? There are two use cases. Either they have a lot of traffic, or they have some databases, some structures which are secured inside the private network. Where if you host on Vercel, things get a bit complicated, right? And I think it's for enterprise tier, Vercel says that we will be able to provide you the. Oh.
Just try this and ask if it is.
Okay. So I was talking about. Here, I think it's not the. Okay. So I was talking about it being a bit expensive. So let's see if we can open the link here now. I wanted to quickly show the costing it takes. So I think how it gives you a lot of things out of the box, and it's pretty cute, I would say, what they give you for the OBGL. But then for most of the projects, you would probably deploy on Pro if it is a bit smaller website, and maybe enterprise if you are really serious and a big enterprise trying to do something with Next.js, right? I'll continue on this. Not on the audio. I'm not sure why.
It will go from there if you want. It's okay. I think let me start the audio. Let's do it from here. I'll send it there.
Q&A will go right. Cool.
And I'll be waiting.
Speaking.
Okay. Okay. So back to what we were doing. So if you see, I think hobby tier is almost quite generous in terms of what they offer. But then if you see Pro or Enterprise, they haven't given the details here, but they have dollar over here, right? Imagine I have serverless functions which are kind of, for example, every request, I have a Lambda function which checks something for A/B testing, for example, right? If they want to serve you A content or B content, every request will go through the serverless function. If you have a lot of traffic, imagine, look at this number. It's $40 per extra 100 GB also. It can actually escalate quickly. Same way, if you say concurrent build, I'm running one at a time. But what if you have a requirement where you deploy something to production, you realize, okay, it's actually broken. So you try to build a new version, then you realize, no, even this fix was wrong, and you want to parallelly build something else. See how much they were costing. $50 per build, per extra build, right? So this way, at an enterprise level, Vercel can actually escalate pretty quickly in terms of cost. And I'm not making it up. If you go online, for example, you will see examples where people are kind of complaining about it. Yeah. So for first person, I think the website was attacked by the bots. It was a simple website where I think they have 800K monthly users. But then they got $3,000 plus bill because of bots. A lot of traffic was flowing to the website. And another aspect in terms of pricing is, I think we have to look at that. The bandwidth. Yeah. So if you go beyond their 1 terabyte bandwidth, it is $40 per extra 100 GB. So if you go another 1 terabyte, $400 right away. If you do another 10 terabytes, $4,000 right away. And you may think, okay, this is so much of bandwidth. Will I ever finish it? Yes, you can very easily. If you have a website where you are having, for example, if you're working for one of the luxury brands, a lot of product images. Every product will have 10, 12 images, all high quality. Imagine the size or traffic you're generating. It's very easy to actually go beyond that. So these are some of the reasons why would you do it. And also the problem where you have your infrastructure on premise. If you're a bank, probably everything will be on premise. And then how do you connect Vercel with them? That's another problem, right? So these are some of the reasons why you would want to self-host. And also better control your infrastructure and your CI/CD code, right? Also, sorry, I did not make a disclosure. If you have a question, stop me right there. I'm okay to get interrupted and answer this question right away. Also, we'll do demo. So whenever we do demo and we wait for build process, we'll try to use that as a Q&A time. So when you want to self-host, it's very typical infrastructure you will have to maintain, right? Actually, Next.js app, it's a full stack application. It's not just like React where you have a static file and you bundle them and host them somewhere. You can see the text, right? The typical infrastructure is you have multiple instances of your application. It's a full stack application, Next.js app is. And then you have a load balancer so that you can, if you have more traffic, you can kind of load balance and make sure your performance is maintained. And then you should ideally, if you have a public website, you should use CDN, Content Delivery Network. So that website, even if my website is hosted in US, I can have something like AWS CloudFront or Akamai, where I can serve the contents very fast in India also. I don't have to go from my Indian customers, they don't have to go to my US server. At the edge, they will make a replication of that and it will be very fast, right? So this is the typical structure you have to basically deploy Next.js. Right? It's very, very simple one. It complicates further as we talk about Lambda functions because you have APIs, it's a full stack application, you have APIs, you have middleware, right? Those will also be have to be broken, and that's why actually Vercel costs you more because they take care of that automatically. But this is a very simple way how we can deploy it. And this can be deployed to any cloud provider, in-house data center or Kubernetes, for example. On your local machine, you can deploy and do the same setup, except Syrian for sure. So before we do that, I think let's talk about dockerizing. But before dockerizing, let's have a look at the application, demo application we're going to look at today. So I'm building my application, it will be very fast, and I'm then serving it as a built version, whatever you will deploy in production basically, equivalent to that. This is my website, and if you can see, just very simple, it's showing you the current time. Let me zoom it a bit. Good enough for the people at the back. Okay. So it's just showing me the current time, and it says I am on a page where it says the current time on server is 2:48 p.m. India time. Interestingly, if I go here and if I don't put any local, there is no localized path in my URL. It automatically takes me to the English as a language. Okay, and this is done by the middleware basically. There is a middleware which is able to do these transitions in B. So it says if I have a default local and if I don't have a local cookie, because if I change my local, I want to persist that. If my user says I'm in India but I want to see the Italian website, okay, I'll remember their choice. So that's how to do it by cookie. But if I don't have a cookie, I'll just default to English. Otherwise, the value they have in cookie, and that's how I decide the default local in case you don't tell me the local you want to use. This is the middleware, means every request will go through it. Each and every request coming to your application will go through this particular code. On this page, we have three different types of pages. What we are looking at right now is the SSR page or server-side rendered page. Okay. So each time I refresh it, I should be able to see the time changing. See, if you see the seconds over here, they are changing each time I refresh. Right? Then I have something called a static page. I built my website some time back. If I refresh, the time never changes. It's statically built. I think a lot of people know. If you're using Next.js, you know why you use it. Static building is one of the major reasons. So it's not really updating that much. Or not updating at all. Actually. And then we have something called as ISR. Right? ISR means imagine your website. I built it. Okay, build time. I have built all my static pages and I'm deployed it. What if I want to change it? I have to build a new version and deploy it. Can I do something better? That's where ISR comes into picture. It says Incremental Static Regeneration. So I built my website at this particular time. Then I send a request. I send request sometime like that's why we see this page. And at that time, they just understand, okay, you requested me a page. That page is older than 20 seconds, for example. If it is older than 20 seconds, I'll start generating a new copy in background. I'll give you old page. And next time you call me, you'll get a latest page. Now I call it, I should get the latest page. Still, it is old compared to the time I'm looking at. Right? My current time is 251, it says 251. That difference is there because it was built some time back. Now, if I keep on refreshing, it will not change. But after 20 seconds, it will change. So this is the ISR, very short description. Getting back to what we wanted to do, then we wanted to dockerize it. Now, why dockerize it? And what is Docker, for example? How many of you don't know Docker at all? Just for you, for example, it's a personal session for you. Then Docker is just like a virtual machine, very lightweight virtual machine where you have your dependencies. For example, your node application needs node models, right? These are your dependencies. Node needs to be installed, yarn needs to be installed, and node models. So you kind of bundle it together, and then it can be deployed or started anywhere without installing anything extra. Docker is the only thing you need to run it. Now, what it takes to Dockerize, Next.js has a very good documentation and example where you can see how to kind of create the Docker build. So basically, Docker file is what you use to build the Docker image. Docker image is bundle which contains everything for an application to run, and this file defines how to create the bundle. Next.js has given a very good example, and we have used the same one and have built the image using it. Okay. I was planning a demo, but in interest of time, let's move faster over here. But now, what benefit you get from Dockerizing? Almost all the places where you want to deploy will have a easy way to deploy Docker images. Probably one-click solution. That's why you should first Dockerize your application so that it becomes portable and can be deployed anywhere. And in this dockerized image, we run the next application using something similar to what I'm using in the demo. So we gave it a command that you build and then you start, yarn start. It simply starts the full stack server. API is running, my frontend is also running. Same thing happens in the Docker method. So when you run the Docker image. Okay. I think we spoke about different page types. Any questions so far? Which needs to be addressed immediately.
Any alternative to bot traffic identification?
Sorry?
You said like Vercel, meaning bot attacks can cause a lot of increase in billing, right? So any options to identify bot traffic?
Yes, you can add. You can use firewall. Maybe the person was not having firewall installed properly over there. You can use firewall and something similar. You can also code it yourself to identify the bots. But again, I think as I say, username, password, or authentication is a niche domain. You rely on Okta or someone who has specialty in it. Same way, for bot detection, I would say there are specific services offered by AWS or any other clients, any other cloud providers. You ideally should be using them. That's the ideal solution, I would say. I think we're still using the same
We can ask
folks from other offices on remote, are you able to follow? Or the audio is still not really good?
We can understand what you are saying.
Okay. I also see one raised hand. I don't know if it is for the question. Yes, you can go ahead. Okay. We spoke about ISR, Incremental Static Regeneration. Now let's talk about AWS deployment. Basically, when I say manual deployment, we would deploy it using this particular architecture. Right? So what I need to create? I need to create a service which has 3 instances. Then I need to have a load balancer, and then I need to have AWS CloudFront as a CDN. I have a code ready, and this is where I was referring to the bot to help me to write this code. So yeah, we have the cluster created on AWS. Let me zoom it a bit. Then there are some roles and policy and security mechanism we are writing. Then I have ECS task. I'm using AWS ECS. It's a service by AWS where you can deploy Docker containers very easily. Elastic Container Service, I think so. And I'm telling it to also execute 3 instances. Then there's a load balancer, which is gonna balance the traffic on my instances. And then I have the CloudFront distribution as a CDN basically. And its origin is basically my load balancer, so that any traffic goes to load balancer. Okay. So I have deployed it using Terraform commands. Now, what is Terraform? Basically, I can do all these things: deployment, creation of services using UI. But then, what if I do a mistake? What if someone else wants to do the exact same step? Right? That's where the concept called as infrastructure as a code comes into picture, where you can code or write your infrastructure, and it is reproducible, recreatable using the CLI. Basically, machine can do the infrastructure code for create the infrastructure for you based on the instruction instead of you doing something on UI. We have used Terraform already, and we have created something over here. Let's have a look. So I have CloudFront distribution on my AWS panel, and this is where it is basically deployed. Now we'll talk about limitations also. You all remember the automatic language selection? If I don't give the language, I have deployed it using that architecture I showed you. This is my URL. Let's see what happens. I see error. Do you see the language selected in the URL? There is no language here, right? Reason for that is middleware is not executing on in this case. Traffic is served by CloudFront, which is a CDN, and my middleware is not executing at all. If I want to execute middleware, I have to write AWS Lambda myself and put it in CloudFront so that it runs on every request and does that magic and logic of finding the language and assigning that language to my user, which is not happening right now. First shortcoming, if you self-host, these are the things where things get complicated and you have to end up host it yourself.
And this was out of box Vercel.
Yes. Also, let's look at the incremental static regeneration page, right? The image which is there right now, maybe it has regenerated, so it's showing some time where the server is. I don't know, maybe in US, I think. I mean, US is one zone on AWS. If I refresh it, it's the current time most probably was there, I would say, in US. I refresh it, there are 3 instances. Keep this in mind. Okay. What I'm saying is my Next.js will cache the content and will serve the cached content. But this cache is local to my instance. If I have 3 instances, I have 3 copies of cache. Each of them have different cache. I refresh it again. Oh, now it has gone back. You see, seconds. Look at the seconds part only. So time is going back and forth. Why? Because each server is having different copy and it is serving with a different cost. Another problem, if you sell post, this is another problem you have to solve, and it's tricky. Trust me, so again, I have spent a lot of time to understand how to solve it purely with AWS without using anything extra Vercel provides. And Vercel does this automatically. Everything is taken care of. Right? But then again, they're costly and we have some other problems.
I have one question actually. So if we are deploying the middleware on AWS Lambda, right? The time will depend upon where the Lambda is deployed, right? It is not being served by an edge function or anything.
You can use Lambda at edge also if you want.
But here it is not.
No, here it is not.
So even if I'm passing it into field, it is not following that to field, but will always serve the US time zone because my Lambda is there.
Yes, if you Lambda is in the US, your time will be from US basically.
Like any other form.
Yes, yes. But obviously, you can take care of it if you want to kind of localize this stuff. You know the ways, right? How you show the same price in different currencies on same website, same thing, same way. We can handle it. But yeah, the time wherever server is running, that will be data you get this.
But here we are losing the advantage of the CDN because it has to go through a Lambda function which is deployed somewhere else.
So there are something called as edge lambdas, CloudFront, which are along with the at the edge, so they are a bit faster and kind of gives you edge functions basically. So we saw the problem when middleware was not working. We saw the caching problem, right? No, we haven't seen the insufficient caching, but we have seen the multi-instance cache issue with ISR. Now, what's the other problem I was talking about? I am on a server-side rendered page. Each time I'm refreshing, I'm getting new seconds. Correct, working very good. But then what is the use of CDN? If my every call is going to server, what is CDN doing there, right? It's not doing its job properly. So there's a quick fix for this problem actually. So all these pages I have created here. And in Next.js, you just simply have to, this is kind of telling that this is a server-side rendered page. This is how we tell it in Next.js that this is a server-side rendered page. And if you say that I want to cache it for 10 seconds, and if you don't have a new copy, show them the same copy for 60 seconds. This will be used by, this is called a surrogate cache header used by the CDN to serve the content for 10 seconds. It will cache for 10 seconds, and after 10 seconds, it will latest copy. But it will not serve from the cache. It will serve from cache for 60 seconds, but after that, it will go to server and get the latest copy and serve it to the actual user who is calling it. The problem you had with multiple instances is no more here, because it's always server-side rendered. So each time you refresh, you will get the latest copy. At least you will have 10-second delay, but not more than that. This is about seeing it yourself. Any questions so far? Because we have to, then what Vercel does, Vercel basically, when you deploy it on Vercel, Vercel knows that your application has middleware which has to be deployed separately. It cannot be part of your Docker application. It has to be deployed separately. I have a CDN, it is serving all the traffic. So I have a CDN over here, which is serving all my traffic, right? Even if I have a middleware which is sitting here, if my CDN serves traffic from here, the user request will never reach my server, right? That's where Vercel will have same problem, because Vercel actually deploys on AWS. Vercel is a wrapper on AWS. Another reason, Why they would be costly? Because AWS will be cheaper and they're putting something on top of it, they'll take money from it for that. So they will put a function here. This middle layer, instead of running here, they'll break it from main application and we'll move it here. That it runs on everything. That's how they will solve it. And that's why you can also solve it, but you have to take extra effort for it. Doable. Well documented, no. Can you find it on Google? Yes. A lot of people have done it. Okay, if you're good so far, let's talk about another use case. There is something called as AWS amplifier. One is like Vercel, it's like Vercel but on AWS. I simply tell you that I want to deploy something from my GitHub. I have connected my personal GitHub to this AWS account already. So it tells me the URL, the repo, and then I'm saying the main branch. It will take 2 minutes. Maybe we can use it for question and answer.
Is a question. So like Vercel has a hobby pricing. So does Amplify has free tiers?
AWS has a generic.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So the question is, just like Vercel having a hobby tier, do we have something similar on AWS Amplify? Nothing specific for AWS Amplify, but on AWS you have that particular free tier. I think it is valid for 1 year and $300 something. 6 months. Okay, and $300 credit. So that is what is available. But if you are a new user, I don't know if you can use different email addresses to open new accounts. Maybe they can check your credit card detail and verify that it's the same person. But yeah, that's only one time you can get it if you are a new user. On Vercel, no, there is no such restriction. So if I look at my Vercel dashboard, I have 3 applications. My portfolio website, then there is some other talk, and then 2 desktop. It is all hosted. I can deploy as many hobby projects I want. Okay, we'll wait for Amplify to kind of deploy it. Any remote questions so far? Questions from remote other locations?
Yeah, we have a question from Coimbatore.
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. So this is about the content refreshing time when deployed in the multiple services, right? Like, so I didn't understand the concept of how it has been consistent across all the system. Like, if you take an example of a ClickBus or a ClickInfo, the content will be refreshed each minute or something, right? Like whenever the ball is bowled. That time, users shouldn't face the issue of refreshing, looking. It shouldn't show the previous history after he saw the new event.
Yeah, imagine you're on an e-commerce site and I'm waiting for a launch. Something is launching today. I'll refresh the page, isn't it? So there are use cases where you will refresh the page. Or imagine I have a header and footer kind of a navigation, which on homepage I see different and go to different page where there's a different cache, I see another version of it. Or there are some menus available on homepage, but I don't see them on another page because the cache value is different. So these are the situations where it can go wrong. Was I able to answer?
No, so I didn't understand. So there's still a issue with it, like the content cannot be managed across the system for at least we should wait for what other time is configured. Like in your case, it is 10 seconds, right? So that time still is negligible, is it?
Yeah,
is my understanding right? Or
10-second delay will be there, yes. For 10 seconds, you can still see the stale version. But once you start seeing the latest version, you will not go back to the old version at least on the server side. But in case of incremental static regeneration, you can see latest version, then old version, again latest version, based on how many instances you have.
Yeah.
Okay, I think. Okay, thank you. So our application is deployed. It took 2 minutes approximately. Just one click deploy. Just how you deploy on Vercel. And do you see it here? It was able to automatically kind of capture this particular form. Also, if I go to ISR, I would never see 2 different versions, even if I keep on refreshing it. It's able to handle that part also. But then then why don't we use AWS Amplify always, right? Again, it is costly, right? It's actually almost comparable to Vercel. There's also costing table over here. I'll share the slide deck. I don't know how to do it on YouTube though. But you can find the AWS costing. Again, it is very opinionated, bit less flexible or difficult to configure in case you want to take a different route, you want to have a different pipeline. Bit difficult. Behind the scene, if you are using AWS, you would probably know it already. It's using CloudFormation. So we should be able to see the stack created in CloudFormation for this AWS amplified deployment. Interesting. But as far as I know, it was using the AWS CloudFormation. But yeah, I mean, might be missing something. Yeah, it should be easy to get.
Ideally, yes, but maybe some user access.
Yeah, region may be different, possible.
So Amplify, does it automatically deploy CDN as a cloud?
Yeah, the question is, can AWS Amplify deploy the CloudFront CDN? Yes, it can deploy. It can deploy CloudFront CDN. It can identify middleware, Lambda functions, and break them and deploy them at respective places wherever they should be deployed.
Is it doing it automatically?
Yes, automatically. I just gave it the GitHub repo. It identified that it's a Next.js app and was able to do everything, just like Vercel. Any more questions? Any more question from remote side? I think we're good. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.